Now, it's the final day of testing for the Formula One teams before the first Grand Prix of the season in Melbourne, and we can go live to Rachel Brooks, who's at the Circuit de Catalunya in Barcelona. Morning, Rachel.
Morning, Aaron. It's up changes, but they must be happy with the gap they seem to have out in front. So final day of testing then here in Barcelona, and we'll see if McLaren can get a full day's running too, because we know they're behind on their programme right now, as well as Force India. We'll keep you updated throughout the day here on Sky Sports News.
Great stuff. Thanks very much, Rachel.
Yes, Formula One, and it is the final day of testing for the Formula One teams before the first Grand Prix of the season in Melbourne. Let's go live now to Rachel Brooks at the Circuit de Catalunya in Barcelona. Rachel, you've just been speaking to the Ferrari team principal, Maurizio Arrivabene, I understand. How happy is he then with their performance at testing?
Well, Kate, he seems pretty pleased at the moment. I have to say, there seems to be a bit of a new era here at Ferrari as well, because they're being very open with everybody. We've spoken to him twice now in 2 weeks, which is a lot more than we did with the previous team principal over an entire season. So they certainly seem a more open team now, and he sat down and had a press conference with everybody where he told us that in terms of their programme for testing, target is achieved. And I got to grab a couple of minutes with him before that press conference and asked him, target's achieved, how are the drivers feeling? What's the drivers' feedback been on this 2015 car?
They are quite happy. Kimi said that he noticed an improvement versus last year. For Seb, everything is new, he's very enthusiastic, and at the moment the feedback, they are quite positive.
You've said you're targeting 2 victories this season. Are the drivers happy with that? Do they want more? Do they think there's more in the car?
If you listen to the driver, they want to win the championship, of course, but we have to be realistic. 2 victories, coming from the situation that we had last year, in my opinion, more than fine.
Well, it's always a sign, the drivers' body language, the way they appear around the paddock as to just how they feel in that car. A lot of drivers seeming very pleased with their cars this year, not least the Williams, who seem to be quicker thereabouts. At the moment, Valtteri Bottas is in the car for them today. But unfortunately, Red Bull have got more problems again. Now, we've seen this several mornings here at testing. The car goes out, it gets to the end of the pit lane, and then it needs to be brought back by the mechanics. That's happened to Daniel Ricciardo this morning at around 10:30 our time, about just under an hour ago. And unfortunately, it's an ERS problem for them. It's the energy recovery system, and it's taking a while to sort out. So they're in the garage at the moment. Also, McLaren haven't got out yet today. That's not the news they were looking for. A tough day yesterday, an oil leak ended their running after just 39 laps, and we've yet to see Jenson Button out in the car again today. So things not getting any better at all for McLaren right now. Elsewhere, Sergio Perez is out for his first day in the Force India. Nico Hülkenberg got over 150 laps in it yesterday. So Sergio Perez going out in the Force India today, trying to get some running under his belt, because 2 weeks today it is the Australian Grand Prix. There is not a lot of time left. And just finally, Mercedes, they're doing some short runs today. Nico Rosberg's back in the car for them, and he has posted the quickest time of testing to date. That was on the soft tyres. Lewis Hamilton's got the quickest time to date on the medium tyres. We'll see if he betters that this afternoon. But Mercedes still looking very, very strong here as we head rapidly towards lunch on the final day of testing.
OK, thanks very much, Rachel. Good to see you. Well, there are now just 2 weeks to go until the season-opening Australian Grand Prix. It is the final day of testing at the Circuit de Catalunya in Barcelona. Now, McLaren have had a troubled time this winter, haven't they? Jenson Button hasn't left the garage yet this morning. The team say that they're carrying out some system checks. It's been a similar scene at the Red Bull garage. Daniel Ricciardo's car came to a stop in the pit lane with an energy recovery system problem just 10 laps into his day. It's Nico Rosberg in the Mercedes. Another comfortable morning for them. He's passed 50 laps, has set the 3rd fastest time on slower tyres than his nearest rivals.
What a sport it is, England.
There's just one session of winter testing to go before the first Grand Prix of the season in Melbourne in 2 weeks' time. We can go live now to Rachel Brooks at the Circuit de Catalunya in Barcelona. Rachel, what will the teams be aiming to achieve on this final afternoon?
Well, lots of running and trying to keep that car on track, pretty much. We've seen some put on the super soft tyres, which is the quickest compound, already today to top the timesheets. But it's not been the greatest day for Red Bull. We've been waiting to see what kind of performance they've got. Well, they can't show it at the moment because the car is in the garage and has been since an hour and a quarter into running here today. Now, Daniel Ricciardo was in the car. He took it out, stopped at the end of the pit lane and was wheeled back in again, which is a bit of a deja vu for us. We've seen that happen 2 or 3 times before already here in Spain. Wheeled back into the garage, and that's where it's stayed ever since. We've told it's an ERS problem by the team. And they're telling us that they're working on that right now. Christian Horner's here today and he's been chatting to Daniel Ricciardo, but Daniel Ricciardo not even in his race suit as he stood out in the pit lane having a chat to his team principal. So not a good day for Red Bull so far. They are hoping to get out again this afternoon, of course. Just 4 hours of running left before the 2015 season gets underway. Elsewhere, Valtteri Bottas has gone to the top of the timesheets in the Williams. He put the super soft tyres on and went for a qualifying simulation, and it put him on top with a 1:23.063. That's 2/10 quicker than his teammate achieved on the same tyres, so he'll be pleased with that. And then Sebastian Vettel put on the super soft tyres as well for Ferrari, and he went out and also put in a pretty quick time. He managed a 1:23.469, so they're the top two at the moment. Elsewhere, Felipe Nasr in the Sauber has been pounding around this track. That Sauber just does not seem to break, other than their stoppage late yesterday. They keep piling on the laps in that car, 72 for him already this morning. And Nico Rosberg's been out in the Mercedes. 69 laps for him so far today. He hasn't done a qualifying sim yet, as far as we could tell, and it's just 5th fastest for him, but that Mercedes doing plenty of laps again today, and we're looking to see whether or not he puts on the quickest tyres this afternoon and tries to go out, but he does have the quickest time of pre-season at the moment, so if he wants to hold on to that, he looks pretty safe. Elsewhere, Jenson Button in the McLaren, more problems for them again today. They got out just before lunch, 5 minutes left before lunch. They managed to get out of the garage. He did 2 laps, didn't set a time, came back in again, and they're hoping to get a full afternoon's running this afternoon. The time is up against them really now. Just 4 more hours before the cars will be heading off to Australia for the first race of the season.
Thanks, Rachel. Williams' Valtteri Bottas was quickest in the final morning session of F1 testing in Barcelona. Nico Rosberg was driving for Mercedes. Jenson Button began his running just before lunch, with McLaren suffering more technical problems.
A last chance to fine-tune before Melbourne. Despite setting the winter pace, Nico Rosberg, like Lewis Hamilton, had talked of setup issues still to address. Ominous for the rest. McLaren are far from fine-tuning. Jenson Button claimed he could have a race-winning car by the season's end. Will he start the season with a race-finishing car? 12 laps was the team's longest stint heading into today, and they were last to head out. Red Bull have kept their design window open late to trial new parts, leading to frequent scenes like this. Is something they didn't design their chief headache. The Renault engine is 70 horsepower down on a Mercedes unit, according to Christian Horner, a near 10% deficit. If that's good news for Mercedes customers, Lotus, Williams, who set the morning pace, and Force India, who gave Sergio Perez a first taste of their new car, Ferrari appear to have improved the electric element of their hybrid. Yet their target of 2 wins this year is now an ambitious one, according to team boss Maurizio Arrivabene. Although ambition is a quality he has plenty of. Craig Slater, Sky Sports.
They are quite happy. Kimi said that he noticed an improvement versus last year. For Seb, everything is new. He's very enthusiastic, and at the moment the feedback, they are quite positive.
You've said you're targeting 2 victories this season. Are the drivers happy with that? Do they want more? Do they think there's more in the car?
If you listen to the driver, they want to win the championship, of course, but we have to be realistic. 2 victories, coming from the situation that we had last year, they are, in my opinion, more than fine.
Keep across.
Now, Williams' Valtteri Bottas set the fastest time on the final day of Formula One winter testing. The teams now have just 5 days before they have to pack up in their cars and send themselves to Melbourne, ready for the season-opening Grand Prix in 2 weeks' time.
A last chance to fine-tune before Melbourne. Despite setting the winter pace, Nico Rosberg, like Lewis Hamilton, had talked of setup issues. He had a lap century to address them, ominous for the rest. McLaren are far from fine-tuning. Jenson Button claimed he could have a race-winning car by the season's end. Will he start the season with a race-finishing car? Last to hit the track, a stint of 12 laps remains the longest the team have put together this winter. Red Bull have kept their design window open late to trial new parts, leading to frequent scenes like this. Is something they didn't design their chief headache. The Renault engine is 70 horsepower down on a Mercedes unit, according to Christian Horner, a near 10% deficit. If that's good news for Mercedes customers like Williams, who set the last day's best mark and completed their programme early, Force India, who gave Sergio Perez a first taste of their new car, Pastor Maldonado also enjoyed the extra horsepower. The tyre wall he clouted didn't. Ferrari appear to have improved the electric element of their hybrid, yet their target of 2 wins this year is now an ambitious one, according to team boss Maurizio Arrivabene, although ambition is a quality he has plenty of. Craig Slater, Sky Sports.
Again, not so happy, but it's all relative. I'm very, very happy with the car and with the performance and everything. You know, the team has done a great job again, so we're in a good position. But it's now the fine-tuning, you know, and I still need to nail it. But I think I know what we need to do now, or we know what we need to do. So for Melbourne, it will be fine.
Today was the final day of Formula One pre-season testing in Barcelona. Rachel Brooks is there for us as the teams begin their preparations for the first Grand Prix in Australia in 2 weeks' time.
Well, the teams are packing up around me as they prepare to head home and then head off to Australia for the first race of the season in 2 weeks' time. That 2 weeks is going to be a lot easier for some than others. It's clear Force India and McLaren have a lot of work to do. It's been a good test, though, for the likes of Ferrari and Williams, while Red Bull are actually going to be staying here for another 2 days. They've got 2 filming days where they're allowed to run the car for up to 200 kilometres. And that could prove invaluable, as we're yet to really see what kind of performance that Renault power unit has given them this year. For Mercedes, well, you'd expect them to sleep easy up until that race in Melbourne. They set the quickest time of pre-season testing without even having to resort to the quickest tyre.
Action from the day Super League games to come.